Did you ever see Mr. Depp act in a violent manner?
No.
Did you ever see Mr. Depp yell at Ms. Heard?
No.
Did you ever see him kick Ms. Heard?
No.
Did you ever see Mr. Depp throw an object at Ms. Heard?
No.
Did you ever see Mr. Depp slap Ms. Heard?
No.
Punch her?
No.
Did you ever see Mr. Depp kick Ms. Heard?
No.
Is it fair to say, Ms. Iglesias, that you never saw Mr. Depp be physically abusive towards Ms. Heard?
Correct.
And you never saw Mr. Depp cause any injuries to Ms. Heard, correct?
Did I ever saw him causing any injuries? No.
And so any injuries that you claim to have seen on Ms. Heard, you don't know one way or another how they were caused, correct?
Correct.
The only source of information that you have is Ms. Heard's own words, correct?
Correct.
Did you hear Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard having a fight on the phone?
I was there. I was present in the room.
But just to confirm, could you hear Mr. Depp's voice?
No.
So fair to say that the only voice you heard was Ms. Heard's, correct?
Correct.
And so you don't know what Mr. Depp said to Ms. Heard on that phone call, correct?
Correct.
But you yourself, Ms. Iglesias, didn't witness any of these altercations, fights, arguments, correct?
Correct.
You interacted with Mr. Depp less than 10 times. When you did interact with Mr. Depp, was Ms. Heard present each of those times?
All of those times.
Did you find him particularly loving towards Ms. Heard?
No, not particularly, no.
And during these interactions with Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard, at that time, you were aware that Mr. Depp allegedly was abusing Ms. Heard, correct?
Well, most of the interaction that I had was towards the end of 2015, right? I'm assuming, so I was not fully aware yet of, I guess, the seriousness of the fight, if I can say so. I think, most of the time I saw them together was towards the end of before December 15. So Thanksgiving, that time, and Amber's, I think, birthday, I'm getting it to the date. So the few times that I saw Mr. Depp was before I understood the seriousness of the fight.
Understanding, again, came from Ms. Heard only, correct?
Well, Ms. Heard and some of her friends, yes.
Who were some of her friends?
Rocky, Retro Pennington, Ayo, Twillett, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, Josh, Drew, the people that were leaving, her sister, Whitney. Those were the core group.
You said you spent Thanksgiving with Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard. Was that in Thanksgiving, November 2015?
Yes, correct, because they were divorced by May 2016, so yes.
How would you describe that evening?
Awkward,
Why?
because Marilyn Manson was there.
Did you know Marilyn Manson?
No, but it just was an awkward Thanksgiving sitting there. It was quite intimate. So it was just awkward. He's just an awkward being, and it's just awkward to be around. So it was an awkward evening.
Do you recall Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard having any type of disagreement or fight that evening?
Disagreement, maybe, like a disagreement.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, there was, it was such a small, intimate surrounding that you pick up on things. And so I could tell that it was awkward. It was just awkward. I think Mr. Depp and Mr. Manson disappeared for a while, then everybody was at the table, so they was wondering where they were. It was just awkward.
And you're pretty sure they had a fight because Ms. Heard told you after the fact that they had a fight, correct? Because you did not witness Mr. Depp or Ms. Heard having any type of fight the evening of Thanksgiving, correct?
Correct.
But just to confirm, these injuries, right, that you saw on Ms. Heard on December 16th, 2015, you don't know how they were caused, correct?
Correct.
And so any information you have about how the cause of these injuries came from Ms. Heard only?
From December 16, correct.
Well, any injuries other than Ms. Heard and her friends, you never witnessed Mr. Depp being violent or abusive towards Ms. Heard and causing any injuries?
Correct.
And again, just to confirm, on December 15th, 2015, you don't recall seeing any injuries, including a split lip on Amber Heard, correct?
Correct.
But just to confirm, you don't know how that chunk of hair was missing from Ms. Heard's head. You don't know what caused that chunk of hair to be missing, correct?
I don't know it, correct.
You don't have any personal knowledge, I should say, as to how that chunk of hair came to be missing from her head.
Well, I did not witness it, correct.